It's November, it's a chance to reset, refocus and go again for a huge 4 games before the World Cup break. Tonight it's Chelsea against Dinamo Zagreb in the Champions League, and we're coming into Matchday 6, already qualified and top of Group E. Welcome along to Matchday Live. Kickoff is at 8 o'clock, and joining me in the studio is Sam Abasaki. Sam, tonight we're through. It's quite nice, it's comfortable, we're already qualified. This is almost a free hit for Chelsea and Graham Potter tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is the perfect fixture to have after the result that we had on the weekend. You know, you can try a few new things, you know, reset your energy, your mind, and almost show what you're capable of doing, because that's what we need ahead of the fixtures that we have.
Absolutely. It's a free hit for Chelsea, but it's not actually, because we can see the group table now in Group E. And Dinamo Zagreb actually have something to play for. They're only 2 points behind Salzburg, so they could still get Europa League football. This game means a lot to them, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You can tell that they're going to be up for it. You know, they were up for it in the first fixture that we played against them. They're going to be playing at Stamford Bridge, an experience that some of these players have never had before, so that's going to be another boost as well. And like you said, they've actually got something to play for, European football, and that's what they're going to want moving forward. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game.
Would you believe when I sit here now saying that we are coming into Matchday 6 top and already through as group winners? If I'd have asked you that in Graham Potter's first game in charge at home against Salzburg, would you have believed me?
No, I'll be completely honest. You know, obviously you would hope that we would be in a good position, but those back-to-back games against AC Milan, I don't think any Chelsea fan would have said that it would have gone the way it did, but I think it almost gave Potter that energy boost. I think the players almost started believing in him and his system and what he wants to do at Chelsea, and it's given us this breathing space that we have today.
And also the Salzburg game, obviously going away to Austria and winning there. But that first half especially, we really started to see the sort of football that Graham Potter was playing at Brighton with his Brighton team. We played some lovely stuff, didn't we? Yeah,
it was really fluid. It was enjoyable football, something that we're used to seeing in Potter's teams. But yeah, I think that was a hostile environment. It was interesting to see how the players reacted to that as well. But yeah, I think when their backs were against the wall, they got out of all those tight situations. The football was fluid. You're seeing players that, you know, you're used to playing in that type of football really thrive. So yeah, it was really good.
And now tonight, obviously, it's still an important game for Chelsea. What do you want to see the most from this Chelsea side?
I think a clean sheet would be amazing going into the game on the weekend, but also free-flowing football, you know, the type that we saw in that first half that we just spoke about, you know, exciting football. I know that some Chelsea fans have said that this is almost a warm-up to the weekend game, a London derby that's going to be, you know, really important for our season as well. So yeah, free-flowing football and a clean sheet.
And we really need to take momentum going into that Arsenal game. Arsenal are top of the league, they're flying. So winning comfortably tonight is important, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping that we're going to see a few of the players that are, you know, on the bench get a few minutes as well, and that he's able to, you know, recycle the team, because we've seen we're playing 2 to 3 times a week. It's definitely going to be taxing on the players as well. So the faster we can get the job done, the more we can see the other players get some minutes and be prepared for the weekend.
Absolutely. Well, Graham Potter has gone strong for this game against Dinamo Zagreb, and we can head over to your commentary team, Pat Nevin and Matt Davies-Adams, who've got the team news.
Well, Pat, we've got the teams as expected, plenty of changes, but still a very strong Chelsea lineup. Are we thinking it's going to start as a 4, maybe go to a 3? I mean, only one man knows, and that's Graham Potter, and he likes to surprise us.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to guess it, and that's taking a chance, I would say that looks like a back 4 to me. Because if it's going to be a 3 at the back, you're going to ask Raheem to play as one of the wing-backs again. And a home game in the Champions League, you think, no, wait a minute, let's get these players up front. If you've got Kai Havertz, you've got Aubameyang, you've got Mason, and you've got Raheem all up front attacking this team, that's quite frightening for any team to come here. And if they're all in form and they all go for it, that's a really positive thing. Azpilicueta, if he's playing right back, I know Azpi can play the right of a 3 at the back. He's fine, he's great at it. But he loves getting forward, doesn't he? And so does Chile. So it looks to me like a team that could kind of be a 4-2-3-1, and that's a system I think we felt very, very comfortable with when we've adapted into it. But in the end, it's personnel, you know, and it's a strong looking side. Big mention for the fact that Koulibaly back in, fit again. Very, very important to get him as much game time as possible. We've asked a huge amount of Thiago Silva for a long, long time, you know, and he is the most wonderful player. But, you know, there's a game every 3 or 4 days is pushing it a little bit. And of course, with the World Cup coming in, that's something you have to take into account as well. So that team's a strong looking team. That team's it's certainly got opportunities to create in it. And just behind us here, it started raining a little bit, so the balls zip across that surface. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
You mentioned Kalidou Koulibaly. I want to talk about his Senegal and Chelsea teammate, Edouard Mendy. Kerr, we're told, is going to be out for days rather than weeks. Is it as important tonight what Mendy does with his feet as what he does with his hands in terms of impressing Graham Potter?
I think that's just about the case for every goalkeeper in the business just now. I mean, if you look at it around Europe, and I've been travelling around quite a bit recently, and every keeper's now expected to play out for the back and be comfortable. And most of the keepers can play a little bit and they can pass well. But you know what? It's decision making. It comes down to decision making when you're on the ball, decision making when you're going to take the ball. That's the tough bit that the keepers find a wee bit harder. And yeah, he'll be practicing at it, but it's an imperative. If you're playing with a Graham Potter team, you're going to be playing out for the back. You're going to be another one of the players when you're doing that, and you need to make the right decisions. Kerr, he's hardly put a foot wrong. He's not put a hand wrong, but he's hardly put a foot wrong either. So it's a big call for Mendy. I don't think he'll be spooked by it, let's be fair, because he's a superb keeper and one of the top keepers on the entire planet, so he'll just be loving the fact he's getting an opportunity again.
I don't think Denis Zakaria will be spooked at finally making his Chelsea debut either, but it's got to be some concern for him. That he came off the bench a couple of times for Switzerland in the Nation League games in September. He hasn't played club football since August, so you feel like the start of the game in particular is going to be important for him as he feels his way back into proper first-team football.
There will be a bit of that, but you actually get yourself so excited about your first game for your club, first real start for the club. He's going to be surrounded by quality players. One of the things to look out for, and I'll be looking out for it, is the first few minutes, will they give him the ball? Will they zip the ball into him? Because you can always tell what your teammates think about you by the way they play with you. And if they're getting the ball and they're zipping into him and giving it and playing with him, I'll be feeling as comfortable I suspect he will tonight. It's an exciting win for him, and I'm delighted he's getting a start.
Yep, lots of other things to look for as well. Kai Havertz going for 3 goals in as many games. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang running at about a goal every other game in the Champions League. And Mason Mount's got to watch his step. If he gets booked, he will miss the first leg of the last 16 ties. So that's the team. Earlier, we caught up with some fans outside Stamford Bridge to see what they were looking forward to about tonight's game.
So tonight, I think we just need to get the win after the result at the weekend. Unfortunate. And yeah, winning ways, momentum for the Arsenal match at the weekend.
I think the most important thing about tonight is to give all the players a chance, and even though hopefully we're going to bring the dub, we could give some other players a chance on the pitch.
It's got to be. He's had a bit of time out, so if he wants to get back in goal over Kerr, it's got to be done.
I think it would be good to give everyone some minutes and people that ain't been playing quite as much. We've already topped the group, which is great news. So yeah, just go out there, have some fun. Got my nephew here to see the game, so it should be good. Enjoying it.
So I think making sure we score loads of goals so we can go into the weekends on Sunday and beat Arsenal and try and push for that top 4, maybe even a Premier League.
Yeah, like he said, we need to get back to winning ways. It'd be nice to see everyone, a couple of the outskirt players given a chance. I'd like to see Braha get a start, Chukwuemeka get a start, but most importantly, get the 3 points and move on to Sunday.
I just think get the 3 points, prove ourselves and redeem ourselves as the Champions League winners. That's what I think we should do tonight.
And obviously Aubameyang, if he's starting, get him on the score sheet as many times as possible so he's ready and prepped for Arsenal going into that game.
Yeah, big night for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. It would be nice to see him going into that Arsenal game full of confidence. Looking back then at the Brighton game, not too much, but just a little bit, we've actually seen across the last few managers that Chelsea have had that sometimes the big defeats just happen and it's how you react to them. So do you think that Brighton defeat on the weekend could just be an anomaly?
Definitely. With the way Potter started this season, no one would have predicted that would have been the game where you lose
or maybe
4-1.
they did. Maybe they thought, maybe it was always going to happen.
Maybe. I think when you saw the first 5 minutes, it did look similar to, you know, those West Brom games where everything just went against us. But yeah, it's definitely about how you bounce back and what you want to see from the team, because we've seen in the past, we've had those defeats and then we've gone on to have really good runs as well. So yeah, it's just the type of reaction you want to see after.
You've got to take the rough with the smooth, haven't you? Because over the 10 games that Graham Potter's been in charge, we have seen way more positives than negatives for sure.
Yeah, and he's not had it easy, you know. He's had a lot of breaks, he's had players get injured, he's had to learn the team, the players, how they suit his system, who works where. You're seeing him adjust things during games and seeing what works for him, and he's been quite flexible with what he's doing with the team. So yeah, it's not been easy, but I think he's done really well up to now.
I mean, Chelsea were second best, Sam, all over the pitch. I think that's safe to say against Brighton. Tonight we're playing a team that it means something. You know, Dinamo Zagreb are going to be coming into this game knowing if they can win, they still have a chance of playing European football. So we cannot be second best all over the pitch tonight, can we? We cannot be complacent.
Yeah, no. You want to see a reaction, like you said, like a team performance that comes from a team that knows that they took a heavy defeat. They want to entertain the fans. They want to, you know, get the confidence within themselves as well. Get on the score sheet. You know, Aubameyang scoring a few goals before the game on the weekend. You know, Mount and a few other players getting involved with that as well. So yeah, I think it's more about how well we can do and knowing that they're gonna be on it from minute one. They've got something to play for, so we need to be 100%.
And we've obviously been speaking about sort of how Chelsea react going forward, but it's also important for the fans not to overreact at one defeat, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's.
We all know what Chelsea fans are like and love to overreact.
It's really easy to overreact. I think over the last few years, I think I've changed a lot. Like it was very easy to see one defeat and just think that in isolation, this is the worst thing that can happen in the world. But like I said, when you look at what Potter's done since he's come into the job, he's been really successful. He's had a few tests that he's overcome as well. That was one test that, you know, he didn't do that well, but he was very open to why it happened, what he can do to improve. And that's what you want to see, a manager that's open and honest with what's happening and wants to move forward.
Yeah, and Graham Potter has obviously made a decision tonight to start Zakaria, and it's the first glimpse that we're going to be getting of that midfielder. It's a big night for him, isn't it? It's his first chance to really prove himself. Yeah,
I'm excited to see what he can do in this squad. You know, obviously we signed him on loan in the summer. Hasn't played first team football since August, I believe it is. So that's a long time out. I'm sure the boys. I've seen a few clips on the training ground when he's taking shots and things like that. They're getting around him, you know, to make him feel a part of the team. So I think it's the fact that giving him this opportunity, he's going to want to take it, he's going to want to do well. It's a Champions League night, so any player that dreams to be playing football, this is a great night to, you know, showcase yourself. So hopefully he has a great game and adds more competition to the midfield.
And that obviously puts him in good contention, I suppose, to be playing for Switzerland at the World Cup as well, because he's still got that to play for as well. So it's not even just club, he's almost trying to prove himself to his country as well. Yeah,
I think a lot of players are in that position where they're trying to, you know, get their starting spot in the next few weeks at the World Cup. But for him, I think it's just getting in the rhythm again, you know, playing with a different team, a different system. But yeah, just enjoying yourself, because he's not been on the pitch, he hasn't played a game since. So yeah, I think it's just about enjoying himself, getting in the rhythm and seeing what he can do.
And he's also playing next to Jorginho, isn't he? Who's a very experienced player to be playing alongside. You've got Mason Mount potentially dropping into midfield as well. So he is surrounded by quality world-class players, which can only help him. Yeah, 100%. I think if you're going to be surrounded by any players in world football, you'd want to be surrounded by players that want the best for you as well. You know, we've seen a lot of players coming in and out of the Chelsea squad, with the academies players coming in, the youngsters coming in. We've seen how well Trevor Chalobah has done with the leadership of Thiago Silva and Azpilicueta around him. So I think he's in the perfect scenario to thrive and succeed. And the fact that we've also got a few injuries, you know, Kanté's going to be out for a while. Having him at his best will just only better the team. Now, this is a huge 10 days for Chelsea. And to talk about how big the next 10 days are, Elizabeth Helenek joins us on Zoom, as always, on Matchday Live. Elizabeth, great to have you on the show. Listen, it's such an important 10 days for Chelsea. You think of tonight and finishing strongly, going into Arsenal, then Man City, and then Newcastle. To be honest, it doesn't really get much tougher than that, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's an incredibly tough tough couple of fixtures that Chelsea have coming out. And looking at the starting 11, I was a little bit surprised maybe that we didn't see more players rested. And my thinking around this is maybe Graham Potter wants to have an immediate result to prep the team and get them revved up for the Arsenal game. And maybe he wants to have some players gain chemistry and maybe test out this formation and see how it works. But it's an incredibly tough couple of fixtures coming up. It's going to take 110% of their energy, but I'm hopeful that Chelsea can get some big results in the upcoming matches.
And especially those two Premier League games, teams that are fighting for the top 4 spot with Chelsea, especially obviously Arsenal are there top of the league. I think you would probably still say they're in a top 4 race. And Newcastle there sitting in 4th, Sam. But this is how fickle football is. If we beat Arsenal and then Newcastle, things are looking entirely different, aren't they? How quickly football can change in the space of a week. Yeah,
we've seen it in the past. You know, we've been in positions that Arsenal have been in the last few years. You know, 2 results can change everything. But yeah, I think we knew we were going to be in and around this position, you know, playing against the Manchester Uniteds, the Arsenals, the Spurs. I think Newcastle are having an amazing season. Saw that they've only lost 1 game all season, so they're obviously thriving with the opportunity of not playing, you know, European football, which the other teams are. But yeah, it's going to be tough, but I think we've got the squad and the players to do so. Yeah.
Elizabeth, obviously the World Cup now, the World Cup breaks 4 games, but only a couple of weeks away. With the injuries Chelsea have had and with that defeat to maybe Brighton on the weekend, do you think that the World Cup comes at a good time for Chelsea?
Surprisingly enough, I think that it does. And I didn't think that I would be saying that because I'm just so used to the World Cup being in the summer. But Chelsea are going to have a pretty big chunk of players going off to the World Cup. But the players that don't go will stay and be able to train with Graham Potter. And he's going to be able to spend a lot more time with them and really get them up to speed and hopefully instill even more of his ideas. And just looking at this tweet here, I was looking at likely World Cup players. Oh, it disappeared, but that's okay. Like I was saying, there are quite a few that are probably going to the World Cup. I think Mason Mount, Raheem Sterling, I think is likely to get a call up as well. Kai Havertz, but there could be quite a few that are staying and could train with him. So hopefully that just helps Chelsea once fixtures pick up again on Boxing Day.
Yeah, definitely, Elizabeth. Obviously, Graham Potter's come in mid-season, so hasn't had a pre-season with his players at all, Sam. This could, like that tweet said, this could be a little mini pre-season because, like Elizabeth also said, there's a lot of players going, but there's also a lot of players staying, we would assume. Yeah, and I think it'll be good, especially with... We know how Chelsea works in terms of bringing through the youngsters and the academy players. A lot of them are going to be staying as well. And I know Potter was brought in to, you know, get his philosophy throughout the whole system in a sense. So I think having those players that aren't going to play at the World Cup, the academy players that are going to be here as well, it's just going to give him that opportunity to understand them more, enable them to understand him and his system more as well. So it's only going to be good for him. Yeah. Absolutely. And of course, that first game now is against Dinamo Zagreb here at Stamford Bridge, the first of 4 games before that World Cup break. Right, let's head back over to our commentary team, Matt and Pat, who are looking ahead to what is potentially a defining week in Chelsea's season.
Well, here we are at the top of the East Stand, looking forward to the game, albeit it's a slightly unusual one. Matchday 6, and Chelsea don't need a result. They are already through as group winners. Despite that, though, Pat, it's still a match which is going to be important collectively and individually as well. Yeah, for a whole bunch of reasons. The amount of people have said to me that, you know, Chelsea are through, what does it matter? Well, it matters for every single player. Every single player wants to go out and do well in every game. You're fighting for a place. I know there's a lot of rotation, and I know there's a lot of changes, but you want to be the player that says to the manager, I should be playing, and I should be playing every single week. I'm in good form just now. If the manager's got a doubt for a big game coming up, and by the way, we've got a few big games coming up, you want to make sure that you're in good form, you're in peak form, and you're showing the right attitude. And I think Graham Potter wants to see that. He wants to see the right attitude from everyone. There's also the learning curve that a lot of the players are on just now. Now, there's a lot of experienced players here, but we're playing a lot of different systems. We're changing it around a little bit, game to game and in-game as well. So there's that learning curve. And also some players that haven't had a lot of 90 minutes under their belt. There's a lot of players that think, well, I need to get that match fitness. Well, this might be an opportunity for a number of them to get that haven't got that. So there's a whole raft of things. But I'll be honest with you,
footballers can be a bit selfish, and when you get down it, if you think, wait a minute, it could be a couple of goals in it for me, you want to do that as well. Goals, assists, and all them work into the stats that when you look back on, they define your season or your career or whatever. So there's never a game that should be like taking anything else other than totally and utterly seriously. And of course, it's Champions League.
We'll talk about what's to come shortly, but in terms of tonight, this is a really useful exercise for Graham Potter in particular, isn't it? You think about the cauldron that he and Chelsea were in on Saturday, and the fact that before Chelsea could react, the game was almost away from them. Tonight, it's not a glorified training session by any means. It's a Champions League game, but it is a chance for experimentation, a chance to try some new things, and as you say, see new people, perhaps in positions we're not used to seeing them.
Do you know, the best coaches always say this thing: they learn more from defeats than they do from wins. And there was a defeat at the weekend. It was a hard one to take. I think particularly hard to take for Graham Potter. And I think he'll have looked at what's actually happened in that game and thought, right, OK, there's where the difficulties were. Make sure we don't do that again. How can we adapt? What system will I use on this occasion? So, you know, there's stuff to be learned. So you will take that seriously. And you have to go out and enjoy it. And there is nothing better than going and winning games of football. You love it. You get the fans going. There are one or two grumbles, but I was thinking about it recently. If you were Graham Potter and you were the Brighton manager a while back and you lost the game 4-1, it's swept under the carpet and forgotten about right away. It's Chelsea now. And he knows. Graham knew anyway. You knew that's what it was going to feel like, but he certainly will know now that, you know, it's a very, very scrutinised job. So he will want his players to go out and do the best for him, and he'll just want those, you know, those form players to keep that form going. Because, as I say, these big games coming up, they are going to test us.
Yeah, you talk about big games. There's lots of talk at the moment about season-defining periods for clubs ahead of the World Cup. I think that brings into sharper focus just how important playing well, getting a good result is tonight, because the 3 matches that Chelsea have got before the World Cup are extremely difficult. League leaders come here at the weekend, Man City in the Carabao Cup, and then go to St James's Park, one of the most informed teams in the Premier League. So it is a crucial period, and it all starts with what happens tonight.
Yeah, and you don't want to begin in that feeling negative. If you're negative, you haven't had a good game, haven't played well, haven't got a result you wanted, that ain't going to help you. So you want to become then with confidence. You'd love the strikers. You know, if you ask me, the players I would love to see scoring a goal, if Raheem Sterling came into this game and scored a goal, I'd be delighted for it. And I would look at St Brozier as well. If he could do it, Aubameyang, could they get a goal and just lift them? But any one of our strikers that we could possibly do that would push them into these big games coming forward. And they want to be playing in them. And each one of those players I've mentioned, and by the way, I'd Havertz and a bunch of others as well, they want to be starting every one of those games. And, you know, the way you do it is you turn up here, you do it on the night, you look really good, and if you start and you score and you play well, you may be taken off after an hour. That's when those times you come off and you think, excellent, I've done what I needed to do.
And I guess finally that might be partly in Graham Potter's thinking. Get this game won early if you can, and then you can take people off and start thinking about Sunday, and that's the beauty of 5 subs.
Yeah, 5 subs are massively important, and because you've got such a big squad and we need to keep them all fit, games like this, always say it. See if you can get the last Champions League game and you're through. It gives you massive opportunities, and I think this couldn't be better for us tonight. So we can go and do the most important thing is enjoy it as well as win.
We're hoping that Chelsea are going to enjoy it. Dinamo Zagreb need a win to have any chance of getting a place in the Europa League. So plenty at stake here tonight. It's Chelsea versus Dinamo Zagreb. Matchday 6 of the Champions League.
Well, of course, the good thing about this is that we are already through. So it's actually nice coming into Matchday 6 and not having anything to play for, really, in terms of just getting back and into momentum. Now, we can actually, when it comes to the group, we can see there, of course, we have already topped it. And actually, Elizabeth, when you think back, I asked Sam this at the top of the show, like, when you think back to Graham Potter's first game, to be in this position, it's actually been a remarkable turnaround, hasn't it?
It really has, and I've been hosting the Chelsea FC and USA Twitter Spaces, and at the start I would do a little recap about where Group E stands, and I was like, Chelsea are in 4th, but there's time to turn it around. progressed, it was so nice to be able to say, and Chelsea are in first and we've topped the group, and it just shows the amazing strength and power of this team and how they've turned things around, the work that Graham Potter has put in. And it wasn't easy. We had 2 must-win games against AC Milan, and the team went and did that. And I'm just super impressed with the way in which they won those games as well. It was really impressive, scoring so many goals, keeping clean sheets, and just looking so decisive. So I think it really speaks a lot to the work that Graham Potter has done so far, and I'm very happy that Chelsea have topped this group.
Yeah, and there are a few similarities. You saw there just on your screen. Di Matteo was the first Chelsea manager to go undefeated in his 5 Champions League games. So I don't whisper it quietly about similarities to 2012. And there was obviously some similarities to 2021 in terms of a manager getting sacked and another manager coming in. But we're whispering it very quietly, aren't we, Sam? Because we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, don't want to get too far. But, you know, the Champions League is that type of competition that anything can happen. And I think having the run of form that we've had, there's no reason for us not to say that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to go as far as Dan and say, you know, we're going to get there yet, but we're going to be in and around the conversation, and it's good. It's good to, you know, go into this type of game without having that pressure of if we're going to go to the round of 16. We saw Spurs and a few of the other fixtures yesterday, and how tense and tight those fixtures are. We don't need that right now.
Nice to be relaxed for once, isn't it? It's lovely to be relaxed. Mason Mount and Conor Gallagher, Sam, are 2 players who are now 1 yellow card away from missing, I suppose, if they get booked tonight. Obviously, Mason Mount is starting. Do you think that will affect his game in any way, knowing he's going to miss the first leg of the first knockout round if he gets booked tonight?
Possibly. He might not go into tackles as hard as he would want to, depending on the referee. He might gauge it in the first 5 to 10 minutes. But yeah, he doesn't really strike me as a player that is just overly aggressive. And it's just like, we can't play him right now because he will definitely get a yellow card. So I think Graham Potter's done well in the sense of starting him. Possibly can take him off at half-time, bring Gallagher on.
Hopefully if we're 3-0 up, that would be lovely.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, but I don't think that's too much to worry about.
Yeah, well, of course, Chelsea have already qualified for the knockout stages of the Champions League, and so have these other teams. There are some big names in there: Napoli, Porto, Bayern, Spurs, Real Madrid, City, PSG, Liverpool, Bruges, Inter, Frankfurt. 1 spot available. It's AC Milan or Salzburg from, of course, Chelsea's group, Leipzig, Dortmund and Benfica. Out of those teams, Elizabeth, who do you think Chelsea are destined to play? I feel like there's always one team, isn't there?
I don't know. I mean, looking at the potential headlines, I feel like RB Leipzig could be an interesting one, because 100%. There's some players that might potentially be coming or that have gone to RB Leipzig and Chelsea and vice versa. I always think Dortmund could just be a really interesting pick because they have a really exciting team and their atmosphere is incredible as well. But I think if I had to pick one that we're destined to in this current round, it would be Leipzig. What about you guys?
I'd say Inter. I'd say Inter Milan. I think there's a few storylines around that as well. But I do hear the Leipzig one. You know,
Timo Werner back.
Yeah, him back. There's a few players.
Timo Werner would come back to haunt us. I think.
And that would be quite annoying because he was a player that we genuinely supported throughout his whole time. But yeah, I don't think any fixture is going to be a fixture where you can say, oh, we're going to go into that and this is going to be guaranteed win. I think all of them are quite difficult, to be fair.
It's going to be really interesting. The Champions League draw is on Monday, so we cannot wait to see who we get in the round of 16. Right, it's time to hear from the Chelsea head coach who's been speaking ahead of this game. It's Graham Potter.
On Wednesday against Zagreb gives us a chance to understand how far we've come as a team and as a club in a relatively short space of time in terms of qualification for the Champions League. The results have been very positive there, and we approach the game now with the same mentality. We want to win, but we know we're facing a tough opponent. We had that experience at their place, so we want to try and play well. Of course, at Stamford Bridge, we want to try and finish the group and the competition in a positive way, but acknowledging that it's going to be a complicated and tough match because all Champions League games are. It's important not to underestimate the achievement of qualification, especially when you consider where we were after the first couple of games. So all credit to the players, everybody involved at the club. It's taken a massive effort. You only have to see from teams that haven't qualified how difficult it is. So that's good. We've done it. Now we need to focus on the remaining matches and get ready for the the upcoming games after the break. Thank you.
That was Graham Potter there talking ahead of the game. Now, this is a big night for a couple of players, Sam. When I look at that lineup, it is a very strong lineup. But one player who stands out to me is Kalidou Koulibaly, just coming back from injury. He's been brilliant in some games, struggled a bit in others. What are you expecting from him tonight?
I think he's had a decent start at life at Chelsea. You know, he's an experienced centre-back. You know, he's a player that we brought in to replace a player that was quite significant and a leader in the team. And I think he's done quite well. Obviously, the injuries hasn't helped him. But nights like this is where you want a solid performance from a player like him. Just to, you know, almost insert his dominance, so that reminds everyone, you know, I have signed for this club to be successful. We've had a lot of the interviews that he said about Chelsea, about how successful he wants to be here. And I think he can prove that today.
Right, guys, are we ready? Sam, Elizabeth, because it is trivia time.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I hate to break it to you. We actually, last time I was in the studio, we got it right.
I got it right last week. Yeah, I got it right last week.
So we've got a winning record here. So, right, let's have a look. What the trivia is today, then. 6 players made their Champions League debut for us in Matchday 1 versus Dinamo Zagreb. Name them.
Wait, 6 players made their for us.
So literally in this game, in the reverse fixture, out in Zagreb, 6 Chelsea players made their Champions League debuts for Chelsea.
For Chelsea.
6 out of 11 players. It can't be.
Yeah, it's not. But you know these trivia questions.
I was hoping it was going to be just the starting 11. It's not. So it's subs as well. But they made their debuts, which means they had to have come on.
Okay.
So they played.
Okay.
So we're going to have a think about it, aren't we?
Yeah. I've got a few in my mind right now.
Elizabeth, how are you?
For the first time for trivia, I feel like I can finally contribute to something. But I have such a bad memory for these things. Like, you guys are incredible. You remember things from years ago, and this just happened a couple of weeks ago. And you're like, oh yeah, who could it have been? I have a couple of ideas.
My memory is actually quite bad. I can't even remember what I did yesterday, let alone who played in the first game.
No, come on, you're better than that. You're better.
When was it, September?
Yeah, it was quite early.
It's a long time.
It was quite early. No, I think we'll do all right. Are we going to say the answer now or after?
Now we'll say at half time. So we have a good half of football to think about our answers,
cool.
And we will be being told the answer at half time. Right, it's time now to have a look how the women got on in their WSL game against Aston Villa.
Helped out by James to find Wrighton. Chelsea with plenty players forward. Good work by Ingle. Oh, now is there a chance for Lauren James? Well, it's a spectacular finish from a spectacular young talent. Well, Sophie Ingle did so well in the build-up, and then it was just rolled into Lauren James's path. Made no mistake with the finish. The first touch was good. The second was even better. Darley cleared by Buchanan. Of course, he will be able to keep this one alive. Mailing to and it's Darley on the volley. Well, the technique was good. The direction somewhat lacking. Wrighton able to drift infield and combine with Pernille Harder. She's got Sam Kerr ahead of her. Kerr's round the keeper. But Anna Leitz did really well to recover there and deny the Australian. Villa can come forward again. It's Mailing. Lehman's outside her and will face up Eriksson. Oh, good play by Mailing. And Daly's at the near post. And she's able to make it 1-0. Well, she's been in good... Buchanan able to step out of defence. There might be a counter-attack here for Chelsea. It's Pernille Harder carrying it forward. She's got James with her. Here it is, Lauren James. Well, if her first goal was good, her second is even better. Chelsea counter-attacking at some speed. And again, the power, the technical ability on display from James. Oh, it's a good ball in for Kerr. Right down the throats of Annelies. Oh, but it's been given away, and James is on it again. Kerr stay forward. It's 3. Kerr gets her reward, and Lauren James is the architect once more. Well, after seeing her initial header saved by Annelies, the Australian got herself back on side. James pounced, and there she was to convert her second WSL goal of the season.
That's now 5 wins on the bounce for Chelsea women, who play top of the table Manchester United on Sunday. So that's, of course, one to look forward to. And, of course, who can forget, they play Spurs here at Stamford Bridge on the 20th of November. So make sure you get yourselves down here, get your tickets and come and support the ladies in a big London derby at the Bridge. You won't want to miss it. But here we are talking about Chelsea against Dinamo Zagreb in the final group game of the Champions League, Sam. But we have actually seen how dangerous Dinamo can be. They're going to be... Do you think they're going to be setting up in the same way they did at home, trying to play on the counter-attack?
I think it worked for them, so I would be surprised if they tried something new. But it might be a bit different because in that game we had a lot more to play for. I'm hoping we're going to have a lot more possession as well. But yeah, they have some dangerous players going forward, and they can cause a few problems. So I think if they play that way, then they're definitely going to be in this game too.
Like Sam says, Elizabeth, they have some dangerous players, but they've also got a lot of pace in that attack, don't they? And they've caused us problems before, so that back four are going to have to be very careful and very focused, because when they're on their day, they can hurt teams.
Definitely, and they're fighting for a Europa League spot, so they're going to be going all out. They have a lot on the line to try to win this game and do everything that they can, and the defense is going to have to be 100% focused, because we saw in the first game just how quickly they can go and punish you on set pieces as well, and on the counter, like you mentioned. So they're really going to have to be very aware of where they are at and organize themselves properly, but I'm sure that they'll be up to the task at hand.
And Sam, do you think it's better in a way for Chelsea that Dinamo Zagreb still have something to play for? Because they have to come at us. They know if they win, they stand a chance of getting Europa League. That almost plays into Chelsea's hands, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's always good to have these type of tests, especially when you don't have that much to play for. But it's almost you're playing, so you want to play at this standard. You know, the Champions League, the Premier League, the games you've mentioned that are coming up. You want to keep that same energy, the same, mindset going throughout those games. And no game in that run is easy. So to start off today where, you can almost try a few new things, try a few new risks. Zakario's playing his first game as well. If he's has a great game, it definitely put himself in contention for the next few games as well. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to play for.
And their fans are going to be right up for it, aren't they? Like, I can imagine the atmosphere inside Stamford Bridge is going to be rocking, because they love their football, they love following their team. So they're going to be an extra man for their team tonight, aren't they?
Yeah, we heard over there that they were loud, like they were literally their 12th man, and I think obviously they're going to be they're going to be outnumbered because of the fans at Stamford Bridge. So you're going to be able to hear them, and like you said, because they've got so much to play for, this could potentially, will be their last game in the Champions League, but not in Europe. They're going to want to get behind their team and give them everything that they have.
Yeah, and Elizabeth, Graham Potter has actually confirmed that Chelsea will be playing in a back four tonight. We did think that when we saw the lineup, it would be that back four. We've seen Graham Potter start with a 3, go to a 4. Are you excited to see Chelsea start in a 4 today?
I am, because I feel like without Reece James in the back 3/5, it can be maybe a little bit difficult, because those wing-back roles are just such a hard position to play. It requires a lot of running and going forward and then getting back extremely quickly and having a lot of defensive awareness. And so I feel like Reece James fits that perfectly, but without him, I do think that a back 4 is a bit of a stronger formation for us. Ben Chilwell comes back into the starting lineup. He's obviously had a bit of a tough time coming back from injury. He's had some really good performances and he's still getting back to his best, and he's going to be trying to do everything in his power ahead of the World Cup as well. So I think that this is the right formation for us given the personnel that we have available.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting to see. It might be a 4-2-2-2. Maybe Mason Mount might drop in. So it's interchangeable formations, but it's still a big night for Chelsea in the Champions League. We want to finish this group stages on a high with another win. Sam, how do you see this game going?
I'm hoping it's going to be a comfortable win, you know, a few goals, clean sheet, fluid football, exciting football. And yeah, you're just seeing the boys express themselves and enjoying the football that they're playing.
And what about you, Elizabeth? Give me a score prediction.
I'm going to go for a 2-1 score prediction because I do think that we're going to get the win, but I feel like Dinamo Zagreb might get that cheeky goal, but I think in the end Chelsea are going to get the points in this one.
Hopefully, I hope you're both right. Kickoff is fast approaching here at Stamford Bridge. It is a rainy night at Stamford Bridge. The rain is coming down. Now, who is the pressure on? Is it on Dinamo Zagreb? We want to end this with a high, and let's hand over to commentary team now, Matt Davies-Adams and Pat Nevin.